Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Little Talks for Peak Performance, where we help you attract clients, not chase them. And boy, do we have a treat for you here today. I have so pleased and honored to have Jimmy P here as my guest. I will let him introduce himself here in a minute, but Gradient, when in conjunction with an insurance carrier, has had Jimmy into our office to do some training. Now, Jimmy's with Impact Speakers and has had a profound impact on the business that Chris and I do, but really has had a huge impact on kind of how I live my life since he came in and trained us for 2 days. And so I couldn't pass the opportunity to have him here on the podcast with us, not only to talk about really what Impact Speakers does, and how it can really impact your life and your business, but how he just impacted my life and some of the things that he opened my eyes to. So, Jimmy, welcome.
Well, thank you, Dustin. I mean, that's a pretty heady uh, introduction, so I really appreciate it. I feel like saying I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy, but thank you
But you
so
are.
much.
But you are. So we find you today. You're based out of Florida, correct?
Yeah, I'm in a city called Boynton Beach. For any Seinfeld watchers out there, Uncle Leo lived in Del Boca Vista. I'm just a little bit north of there in Boynton Beach, Florida.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, real quick, could you just give us a quick little synopsis or a little plug on Impact Speakers? I know that in my mind you are Impact Speakers, but if people go to your website, you can see it's a I don't want to say a huge organization, but it's not just Jimmy P. You got some great talent working with you there.
Yeah, so I've been in the business, and when I say the business, I don't hold any licenses. I'm not technically in the business of the financial world, but I've been training people in the financial world for, oh my gosh, for I guess 100 years, if I really put my mind to it. For years and years ago, I cut my teeth with one of the leading presentation skills courses in South Florida, and then moved on. I was actually hired away by AIG SunAmerica, so I was their national sales training director for almost 10 years, for about 9 years. And at some point after that, I decided, you know what? Why don't I start doing this thing on my own? So for years and years, we were just Impact Speaker with no S at the end because I was it, and I still am, but that's due to COVID. So what I've been doing personally, I kind of wear two hats, actually three, if I can extend it a little bit. The first hat is I teach a 2-day presentation, communication, and sales skills training course. That's what you participated in, Dustin, and that's where we've got a small select group of people in the classroom. Everybody has an opportunity to get up and present several times in front of their colleagues. Their video, they're recorded so that the difference between the first presentation they do and the last is actually quantifiable. I mean, you can see the difference just by what we do, which is just adding some structure to it. We talk about not just the structure of how to put the presentation together, but it's kind of soup to nuts. Yes, how to put it together, but also hand gestures, voice modulation, movement around the room, visual aids, all that's entailed in the presentation. So we focus on all those kinds of things, and then the structure. And the structure is where people go, aha, the number one fear people have in the world is the fear of public speaking. Number two is dying. So a comedian once said, well, that means if you're really more afraid of public speaking than you are dying, that means consciously the next time you go to a funeral, you would rather be in the box than performing the eulogy. So we know that's pretty severe. So we do take a lot of the folks, as you can imagine, and Dustin, the group. Think about the group you were in. Everybody in that group comes in with different ideas, different skill sets, different experience, different talent, and it's all about just not necessarily a competition in the room, but really rather just having everybody just kind of progress at their own rate. But everybody does come away better. What does better
Oh,
mean? More confident, able to put a presentation together quicker, able to put it together so the audience can follow, retain what they heard, repeat what they heard. And that's the importance of it.
absolutely. And so you're exactly right. Like it to to think back on those 2 days and the individuals, I'm not going to name names, that almost refused to get up and just give the first
Right.
little presentation, and to where we raised the bar, elevated our skills by the end of that second day is mind blowing, for a lack of better words. And so we don't I don't want to get into the recipe or the details of everything that you train on there, but for the fact that it it really moved me and it helped me. Um, but more importantly, some of the things that, and it might be different for me than others, but some of the things that went through my head, and some of the things that I kind of transitioned on during that 2 day event, went just deeper than just presentations. It went deeper than just how to get up and speak to somebody. It was more of how am I going to communicate with people
Right.
on a regular basis, not just in sales, but at home with my family or with friends and so on and so forth. Because, I'm not going to say that everything we do has to be meaningful, but it opened my eyes to almost getting rid of the fluff and
Mm.
just your everyday stuff that wasn't meaningful. And so here at Gradient, we're always talking about, what can Gradient do for you? Well, Gradient can give you time. With all of our sales systems, with all of our support pieces, with everything that we provide, we can give you more time to do: meet in front of new prospects, go play golf, to go volunteer, to spend time with family, to go help people that need assistance. There's so many things that you can do with your time, and it's our most precious resource. I mean, time is, we only have so much of it, and honestly, we don't know how much of it we actually have. That's the scary part. So that brings me to another point, something you said to me right before the show started. And I think it's moving, and it's absolutely amazing. But you said yesterday was a huge anniversary or milestone for you.
Yeah, well, not that big. I'm cancer free, 30 days as of yesterday, which,
30
yeah,
years.
30 years.
30
So,
years cancer free. Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
That's, well, it seems like it affects more and more people. The cancer does, each and every year. And I think it's more that we know about it. And I know that we're all hoping for a cure at some point. I think they're making stride on that, but I can tell you, I am grateful that you're a cancer survivor. So,
Thanks, Dustin.
um, all right. So real quick, not to get too deep into the recipe of what you do
Right.
and what your process is, but you are um an individual that in at least the way that I see it is, you have this charisma, you have the what, and that was one of the things that I struggled with, was the inflection. I think you call it something else. I think it's what's the tone, I'm not sure.
Modulation.
Modulation,
The term
modulation.
modulation just means change. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I can be so monotone and just so boring that I've got, I probably don't sound like it today because I'm excited about this interview. But when I'm not totally stoked about something, I think people are like, man, that guy's just pacing through life. And so, that was one of the things that I had to work on from beginning to the absolute end. But you have a process or a system that essentially, if you really break it down, you can go into almost anything in this world and utilize your presentation system and really knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I mean, you can kind of tell us what you told us at the beginning, but it's almost a way of life, if you will.
Yeah. So you call it a system. Some people call it a technique. I call it a discipline because you have to use it all the time, and it does work. And again, without giving away the farm, because in a minute we're going to put my contact information. So if anybody's interested in hearing more about it, by all means, I'd love for you to contact me. But suffice it to say that it's just as I alluded to a minute ago, it's just a way to much more quickly put together your thoughts. But the difference in the way we do it is, and you also mentioned fluff, the word fluff. The way we come up with what we put together as far as our desired remarks is, there's a mantra that we use, which is, you only have to tell your listener what they need to hear to get them to do what you want them to do. And anybody that's in sales, and even anybody that has to persuade, which, oh, I don't know, is every single person watching right now. We tell people so much information that, quite frankly, as I lovingly say, they don't gotta know. So what we do is by putting together the desired remarks in the way that we do, by composing them the way that we do, you cut out a lot of, Dustin, as you call it, the fluff. Again, I say you don't have to tell them everything you know. Cut that stuff out. And the other part of the discipline that we teach is being specific. If everybody out there would think right now about a meeting that you go to, I don't care if it's personal. I'm on the HOA. I'm on a couple of committees here where I live, and we have meetings. And at the end of the meeting, and think about it, there's only one thing everybody really comes to agreement on, and that is when we're going to meet again. Everybody put on your calendar, when are we going to meet again? Oh yeah, we got that one down. But when the meeting's over, it's incumbent upon everybody to stop and go, hold on a second, what did we accomplish today? And what do you want us to do before the next meeting? And that's
Right.
where there's no fluff there. And by the way, that's the sale, that's the close as well, is not just telling somebody what to do, but being specific. So that could be getting a better table in a restaurant, a better seat on an airplane, a better room in a hotel, getting your kid to clean their room, or working with clients and prospects. So that's a little bit of it in a nutshell, again, without giving away the farm.
And so I know you do a lot of these, but you probably don't remember you sent us all away the first day, and you're like, I need you to, do something. And so I went home and I used it, and I did get my son to clean his room that night.
Oh,
And
you were the guy in that room?
yeah.
Awesome.
And so I got my son to clean his room. Now he was 13. He's now turned 14, and bear of a teenager some days.
Yeah.
But no, it was really cool. And that's really like the power, or the proof is in the pudding. Like, I mean, you go home and you do that with just a day of spending a day with you.
That's right.
And learning your discipline, to then it works that night, and then you come back and you perfect it the next day. It was really cool. So,
well, you have to understand, Dustin, the other thing is, let's continue that thought that you got a 13-year-old boy to clean his room. As we all know, and some of you with small kids during COVID, when they were home all the time, I'm convinced they think they're company. I don't think that they feel like they have to commit to anything in the household. They finish dinner and they just get up and leave, and call room service, please, if I need something. And they really do. They think they're company. So the beauty here is, if you can get a 13-year-old kid to clean their room, you can pretty much get anybody to do anything. That's the thought process that goes behind that exercise that you successfully were able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I couldn't have said it any better. It's a very powerful discipline. And so one other thing I will say about it, and it's way deeper than what I'm getting ready to say, but the thing that, and it's something that Gradient talked about well before I ever met you, is you tell them what you're going to tell them, and you paint the picture. And the way that you do it is really amazing. And you can actually, once you get really, really good at the discipline, you can sit there in your mind in the middle of a conversation, or at whatever you're doing, and you can just like rattle it off in your head, and you're like, I got it. And next thing you know, your wife says, I absolutely will not eat Italian food tonight. And by the time we get 3 blocks down the road, I can have her like, yeah, let's go to the Italian restaurant.
Wait, don't get carried away. I said I could get a 13-year-old to clean their room. I did not say I can get any of you guys. I did not say you can get your wives to do anything you want them to do. That's the advanced class.
Well, I need to enroll in that one for
That's
sure.
right.
So beyond the training system, what I had said that you had really resonated with me, and you did. And so you've lived a very, very full life, and you have done some really extraordinary things that I think are really cool and unique. And obviously you're a unbelievable family man, and we didn't get the chance to talk about that, but we did when you were in our office. But one of the coolest things that I have no talent for, but I think is cool as all get out, is your voice and your ability to to sing. And so how many times have you done the national anthem?
Well, I did it one time, which was bucket list stuff, and then I did it again. By the way, for folks all over the country, I'm a Miami Marlins fan, so there's about four of us, and so it was really exciting to be able to get into a major league stadium and actually sing a very difficult song like the national anthem.
Did the national anthem for the Marlins. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Yeah.
So quick story on that. So I'm a huge Chiefs fan,
Mm.
and I just totally blanked on the singer's name, national singer they brought in for the AFC championship game
Oh,
here a couple of weeks ago.
yeah.
And we lost that game, unfortunately. But thankfully, Miami didn't have the technical difficulties that this person did. But you bring in a big national singer, everybody in the crowd seems to know her but me. And she starts to sing it, and her mic's not working. It's not going through. And in true Kansas City fashion, they all picked up and they all sang it together in harmony. But yours is your. I think your national anthem can be found. I believe. I think it's somewhere out there on the internet.
It might
And
be.
I think I listened to it. It's really good. It's really good. And then you perform in a band or two, right?
Yeah, my wife and I recently moved to a new neighborhood, and because I live in South Florida, there's a lot of communities that are 55 and older, so that's where we live. And I explained to Dustin that you have to come up with self-deprecating names. So the one name that was already in existence when I got here, and hopefully y'all will appreciate them. It's a little macabre, a little dark humor, but it's called the Grateful We're Not Dead. And then the other group that we had just formed is called the Old Kids on the Block. So again, they're both a little self-deprecating, but it's a lot of fun, and I get to do the type of music I like to do, which is just old school soul. And
Are they
it's
two
fun.
different genres, or they both kind of perform the
No,
same
we
stuff?
both perform the same kind of thing. In fact, many I think there's about 3 or 4 of us that overlap into the two bands. But
Cool.
it's just fun. You're entertaining people who are having fun and dancing, and we certainly don't do it for the money. We do it for the fun, and it is fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the other thing, so as you listen to this podcast, I want you to get out a pen and a paper, and there's a few YouTube videos that you're going to want to YouTube. And so obviously we're going to close with one of these, but you were pretty good friends with Craig Sager.
Hmm. I can't believe you remember that.
Yep. And so I not as much anymore, but I used to be a huge college basketball fan. And while he was NBA on TNT, he used to do the Big 12 tournament every year in
Hmm.
Kansas City or Oklahoma or Dallas, wherever it would be. And for those that haven't had the image pop into their mind, Craig Sager was the guy that had these just outstanding suits, but they were loud. They weren't just, it's not like he was dressed to the nines. He was dressed to the nines with these very loud
That's
suits.
right.
And so you can kind of, I guess the real plug I can give is that, you talked about Jimmy Valvano's speech, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But then as we kind of went through the 2-day course, I think it was the end of the first day. And it was when I really said, you know what, I'm going to make my kid clean his room, because you essentially said that you had kind of consulted with Craig on his speech at the ESPYs. And so I went and I YouTubed it. I'm going to try to keep my eyes dry. I went and I YouTubed it when I got home, and not only was it a moving speech and it was heartfelt and it was all the things everybody wants to be able to say to their loved ones or anybody that they know if they feel like it might be one of their last farewell speeches or things, but the how eloquent it was and how on point it was and how he never looked at his notes, and I mean, and so that to me was like, okay, this is and I'm not saying that you're taking full credit for all of that, but I mean,
Very little.
but you had a relationship with him, and that leads me to believe that you had some kind of impact on his life and how he communicated. So go YouTube the Craig Sager YouTube, or go YouTube the ESPY speech. So
I will tell you
good.
one quick thing, Dustin. I don't know how much time we have, but that was all Craig. you know, he just asked me certain things, and I probably just said yes, yes, yes. That's great. I used to MC a breast cancer awareness luncheon, and one year I said, "Hey, Craig, it'd be really cool because we both lived in Atlanta if you could come and speak." And he said immediately, "Yes, I'll do it." My wife Stacy just got a scare, and I feel like this is almost karma. It's almost meant to be. And when I was getting ready to go to the luncheon, I put on a bright pink shirt, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Babe, is this too bright?" And she said, "What are you worried about? Craig's going to be there." And he showed up with pink shoes, pink socks, pink pants, pink shirt, pink belt, pink pocket square. It was unbelievable. And he had books that he referenced, and this guy was prepared, and he was eloquent, and he was he was something. So yeah, the only help I gave him was when he called me and said, "Hey, can I run this by you?" And then I said, "I don't want to hear the whole thing. I want to watch it live." And he was brilliant. I'm taking this much credit for that, other than just
Well,
being his friend.
I think that's cool, and
Mm.
I you never once said you did take credit for it, but I'm giving you credit for some of his speaking abilities, whether it was that day or from days before. So, um, I'm going to put your information here on the screen, but can you just tell us, since some of this isn't all on screen, it's on iTunes and Spotify. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, obviously, just pick up a phone. You can send a text. You can call me. The number there is 954-288-5467. And I told Dustin that 5467, the last four digits are actually Jim P. So it's 954-288 Jim P. You can certainly check out my website, and that's just impactspeakers.com. And my email address is jimmyp@impactspeakers.com. And I'd love to hear from folks, even if it's just to ask a question. But if you're interested at all in having me come and speak at an organization or do any training, certainly I'd love to hear from you then too. And Dustin, I thank you for the forum here to be able to address the folks out there.
Absolutely, and I will tell you it's worth every penny that insurance carrier paid or Gradient paid. Like it is one of those where the individuals in our office had gone through your training before, and I think I was on the second or the third round of them.
Mhm.
And people can act like they know how your discipline works, but until you actually spend time with you yourself and your team, it's like no other. So
Thank you.
I want to thank you. Thank you for having an impact on my life and my career here over the time since I got to spend with you. So
Thanks.
lastly, we are going to, I usually close the podcast with a quote. And if you don't mind, I asked you before we got started, I said, I've got a quote in mind, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to say, is there a quote that you like? And you did. And so we always pop it up there. But I'm gonna hit you with mine. I'm not gonna put it on the screen. I'm gonna hit you with mine, and then I'm gonna pop the quote that you wanted to use up on here, and I'm gonna let you kind of expand on it. But mine was, "There's nothing more important than knowing where you're going," and that was by J.J. Abrams. If you just look back at your discipline,
That's right.
that that right there, there's nothing more important than knowing where you're going. And if you know where you're going, anything is as easy as pie. I mean, you've got it figured out. You don't have to memorize things. You don't have to this. You just got to know where you're going and have a little bit of passion, and you're there. So I think this one here, I'm going to let you read it. I'm going to let you kind of expand on it. But this is something that we haven't talked about, and we've still got plenty of time. So I'd like for you to expand on it a little bit. But I think this is how you live your life.
Yeah. So, like many of you out there, if you're a sports fan, we watch the ESPY Awards every year, and there's one award that's called the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. And for those of you who don't know, and even if you do remember, Arthur Ashe was the most beautiful tennis player, gorgeous strokes, mostly back at a baseline game, but just beautiful to watch. And he was the first Black athlete to win a major tennis tournament. So when he passed away, and it was very sad when he passed away. He had heart issues, and he got a blood transfusion, which you would think, okay, it happens, but the blood was tainted. They didn't properly, look at the blood to make sure it was not, and he got HIV and actually died of AIDS. So from that year, the very first year of the ESPYS, they instituted something called the Arthur Ashe Courage Award, and Jim Valvano was the first recipient. And the only reason I shared this with Dustin was because the irony of yesterday being 30-year anniversary, being cancer free, and remembering this. This is my mantra for my whole life. So when Dustin said, and he just explained it, he had a quote. Do I have one? And I said, yeah, I kind of have one that I live every single day. And if I could read it, it does. It says, if you laugh, you think, and you cry, then that's a full day. It's a heck of a day. You do that 7 days a week, and you're going to have something special. And not a day goes by that when I'm moved emotionally, I don't consciously stop and go, did I laugh today? Definitely. Did I think today? Did I spend some time in thought? Absolutely. And the crying doesn't have to be sorrow; it could be tears of joy as well. So I get that at least once a day as well. So if y'all live your life according to Jimmy V, and unfortunately after that quote, and he passed away 30 days after his speech. So yeah, Dustin, I thank you for letting me share that. But that's my mantra. I have it on a wall in one of my rooms in my house. That thing has followed us from Atlanta to here, and has always adorned one of our walls in our house.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's obviously very moving, and the fact that you have imprinted it into your life. And when I reread the quote to you, you're like, not 7 days a week, it's for a life. It's a lifetime. And it very much radiates out throughout you and your passion for what you do and how you help others. So it's really cool. I want to thank you for spending about 30 minutes with us here today. And I hate to take the quote off of here, but I'm gonna add your contact information there at the bottom. I didn't take the quote away. Anybody that is wanting to literally just get better on the way that you communicate. It doesn't necessarily have to be presentations. I think it's kind of built around giving presentations, but I use it in my everyday life. I use it on the phones with the advisors I work with. I use it with my family and convincing my wife to go eat Italian. And so, it's one of those things that it's a discipline. You called it a discipline. I was calling it a system, but it's a life skill that's learned. And I'm better for knowing you and going through that training. So thank you.
No, thank you. That's, like I said, I started it by saying this. I'll finish it by saying it. That's heady stuff, and I think I have more fun than the people in the room, and I think I get more out of every session than they do. So somebody more famous than either of us once said, and I don't even know who to attribute it to because it's been attributed to so many different people. But if you do something that you love to do every day, then you don't work a day in your life. So I really believe that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate the time and really the knowledge, and I believe everybody's going to benefit from this one. So enjoy your warm Florida weather, because we've got snow on the ground here, and I'm hoping it'll melt.
That's right. Quick. It's 78 here, so it is a little chilly, but we'll get by. Just a light jacket, and I'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
A jacket. I'd be wearing a tank top and shorts with 78-degree weather.
That's right.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.